Very much for tuning in. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Your super chat is greatly appreciated. Senator Chuck Grassley underscores Federal Bureau of Investigation Supervisor misconduct in Trump targeted investigation. NBC News, and you'll hear from President Trump in 1 second. NBC News names of Bureau agents who investigated, let's just say, who were employed as part of previous investigations to be handed over to Trump. Fox News, corrupt Bureau officials must become pristine, Trump says. And The Guardian, Federal Bureau of Investigation in battle with Trump amid purge of officials. The Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, I believe, clearly states that the president is leader of the executive branch. The Department of Justice, the State Department, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Central Intelligence, every intel agency is part of the executive branch. Trump has the right to fire anyone he wants to. It's perfectly legal. Hit subscribe to this channel right now, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get started. This is President Trump. And there are reports that his DOJ is going to indict officials, not only at the Federal Bureau of Investigation, but at any agency that broke the law in relation to previous investigations. We'll get to that in a second. Hit subscribe. Your super chat support is greatly, greatly appreciated. By the way, I'm doing 2 uploads a day. Make sure during the day to just type in H.A. Goodman on YouTube for my latest uploads and the live stream in the evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, everybody.
At the Department of Justice and the FBI, there are a number of high-level people who are being asked to resign or are being told they are going to be fired. Did you specifically request any actions at the Bureau or DOJ with respect to those employees?
No, but we have some very bad people over there. It was weaponized at a level that nobody's ever seen before. They came after a lot of people, like me, but they came after a lot of people. No, I wasn't involved in it. I'll have to see what is exactly going on after this is finished. But if they fired some people over there, that's a good thing, because they were very bad. They were very corrupt people, very corrupt, and they hurt our country very badly with the weaponization. They used the Justice Department to go after their political opponent, which in itself is illegal, and obviously it didn't work.
Are you going to impose tariff on the European Union?
What does that mean?
Are you going to impose tariff too on the European Union, like you are going to do for Mexico and Canada?
Well, you're asking me a question because I'm sure you didn't hear. Am I going to impose tariffs on the European Union? Do you want the truthful answer, or shall I give you a political answer? Absolutely. Absolutely. The European Union has treated us so terribly.
You promised Americans to try to reduce costs, and so many of the products that would be tariffed when they come into the country.
By the way, Connie and Paul, thank you so very much. Connie Coleman, greatly, greatly appreciated. Paul, thank you so very much. When Trump engages in tariffs, it's a negotiating tactic. It's not meant to be 10 years of tariffs. The wonderful, morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats, I guess, took the same courses in economics as the wonderful, very intelligent AOC. This isn't rocket science. You don't have to be Milton Friedman to understand this. This is not rocket science. Okay? Inflation went up to 9% under Biden. Democrats didn't care. Now suddenly they're, hyperventilating over negotiating tactics that, by the way, worked. I did 2 segments today. This was amazing. Mexico and Canada are sending 20,000 soldiers and personnel to protect their respective borders with the U.S. This is unbelievable. But anyway, let's continue. He didn't even have to impose tariffs. Just the mere threat of tariffs was enough.
The outgoing country is not paying the tariff. The buyers in the United States pay that, and then that's passed on to consumers in most instances.
Sometimes.
How would you expect to have prices come down if you have such a broad plan for tariffs? And what do you say to the voters who want to see you reduce everyday costs?
Well, let me just tell you that I got elected for a lot of reasons. Number one was the border. Number two was inflation, because I had almost no inflation. And yet I charged hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs to countries. And think of it, I had almost no inflation, and I took in $600 billion of money from other countries. And tariffs don't cause inflation, they cause success. They cause big success. So we're going to have great success. There could be some temporary short-term disruption, and people will understand that. I had that when I negotiated some of the good deals for the farmers. And unfortunately, those deals have been led astray by Biden and his people because they didn't enforce the deals. We have a deal with China, which is phenomenal for the farmers, but there was nobody to enforce it in the Biden administration. They let them get away with murder. So that's another thing we're going to be bringing.
Do you accept the principle of costs being passed
committed to buying $50 billion worth of farm product, and they did it when I was president. And as soon as I left, they stopped doing it because there was nobody in Biden to enforce it.
The journalist asked, do you accept the principle of cost being sent down to the consumer? And it's like, where were all of these economists when interest rates went through the roof to combat inflation that at one point hit 9% when Biden was in office? Nobody even brought it up. In fact, they said it's no big deal. It's not a big issue. Crime, no big deal. Inflation, no big deal. Interest rates going up exponentially after they said inflation was temporary. No big deal. No big deal. No big deal. Now it's, let me teach you a course in economics, Mr. President. We had record low poverty with Trump. We had record highs in household median income. He's going to drill, baby, drill. Yeah, you know what? The same people who are like, oh my God, it's terrible for the environment. You're begging other countries. Democrats pontificate about the planet, then beg other countries for fossil fuels and oil. I mean, it's like, it's one planet. If you enact regulations that make it difficult for oil and gas in America, the industries to operate, you're not doing the planet any good by then begging other countries to drill and thus increasing the wealth in their countries, their nations, while making it difficult or, imposing regulations on your country, making it difficult to extract oil and gas. The oil companies themselves told Biden, you had oil and gas associations suing the Biden administration. You either roll with it, like if the Democrats really don't believe what they espouse, they never do. Either say that the cost in inflation is worth it to protect the planet, or sit back and let Trump remake and revitalize the economy, which is what he did the first time around. We had record low poverty, record highs in household median income. The working class, the Democrats and liberals and progressives claim to care so much about, did amazingly well under Trump. That's a fact. Like, you'd have to be a complete imbecile when it comes to economics not to even acknowledge that.
But the tariffs are going to make us very rich and very strong, and we're going to treat other countries very fairly. But if you think about it, other countries charge us tariffs. We don't charge them tariffs, and it's about time that changes.
Sir, are you concerned about the market reaction around tariffs?
No. Tariffs. The word tariff is a very misunderstood word. You've heard me say. I say it kiddingly, but it's one of the most beautiful words in the dictionary. It really is. And we've been taken advantage of because others have charged us VATs. As an example, the European Union charges us 20% plus a VAT tax, called a VAT tax, very similar. And it costs us an absolute fortune. We are treated so badly. They don't take our cars. They don't take our farm products, essentially. They don't take almost anything. And we have a tremendous deficit with the European Union. So we'll be doing something very substantial with the European Union. We're going to bring the level up to where it should be. And if you think of the European Union, then you go to NATO, it's largely the same group of countries. Until I came along, we were paying almost 100% of NATO only to get bad trade deals. And now it's been evened out, but very unfair having to do, it was evened out pretty good. Actually, I did a good job. They paid $440 billion if you look at the Secretary General's report, and he was here recently and he said that. He said one of the most amazing things I've ever seen is what President Trump was able to do with these countries of Europe, of which he was in charge of them, but he couldn't get them to pay. I went over, I said, you got to pay, and if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. It's very simple. But very unfair is with Ukraine, because we're in for $300 billion plus, and they're in probably for $100 billion. There's a $200 billion difference, and they need it more than we do. You know, we have an ocean in between. They don't. And so they're going to have to step it up a little bit.
With efforts to reduce the federal workforce, whether it's offering what we've called the buyout package or other efforts, do you have any concerns that there will be employees broadly across the federal government who might take that up? And they're a part of the many different ways that agencies protect the public, from food inspections to water safety to the air traffic
everybody's
controllers.
replaceable, and we'll get very good people to replace them if it turns out to be more than we thought. It could be a lot, it could be a little, we don't know, but we'd love to have them leave. We're trying to remember this. We want them to go into the private sector. It's our dream to have everybody almost working in the private sector, not in the public sector. We have many people, very few people came to work. They were, it started more or less with COVID, but actually even before COVID. But it started with the COVID, they didn't come back. And then Biden let them get away with murder, and we had federal workforce, like 4% coming into the office. And that just doesn't work. People can say it does, but it doesn't work. You have to be unified in a group in the office. It's just, it was crazy. You don't know what they're doing. And then at some point, we may ask them to certify that they didn't have two jobs, meaning were they really getting a check from us, the government, and then were they also working a second job and a third job and, on government time? And many of them will say that they did, which is not legal, but it's a problem. It's a problem. No, we want to get that out. We want to clean it out. People have been trying to reduce federal government now for 40 years, 45 years, and they haven't been able to do it. And this is a way of doing it, I think, very nicely. It's sort of a buyout, too. I think we're treating people very good, but...
So the people he doesn't fire, he's asking to resign. The people he doesn't fire or ask to resign, he's investigating. And the people he's investigating who happen to break the law will get indicted. That could be bureau officials. That could be anyone in the intel community. That could be anyone in the government that framed, set up Trump, everyone around him. Thank God this man lived through an attempt on his life. And that poor firefighter who lost his life, my God, may you rest in peace. God bless his soul, my God. I mean, that's what we had to witness as a society, as a country. There was an attempt on this man's life. Had he not lived, none of this would have been happening. We would have had Harris, Nikki Haley. This was before J.D. Vance. We would have had 4 more years. I mean, this country would have, inflation would have crept up, interest rates would have crept up, the market would have completely and utterly tanked. I think there's still going to be a crash, but it would have been catastrophic. I mean, there would be endless wars on the world stage. They would have ousted Biden. No, I'm sorry. Biden would have continued. I don't believe Harris would have usurped him after that one debate. So that one debate, it would have been with Nikki Haley, which would have been a catastrophe for Republicans. Biden, asleep would have defeated Nikki Haley in a debate. And so this was before J.D. Vance, before President Trump picked J.D. Vance. We would have had none of this. These government agencies would have been so absurdly corrupt, even more so than we've ever seen. because they would have dodged accountability. This is accountability, not retribution. This is simply the rule of law that Democrats claim to care so much about. You cannot set up and frame Trump. You cannot imprison January defendants while allowing, thousands upon thousands of people who engaged in breaking the law throughout the summer in President Trump's last year in office. And I agree with why people peacefully demonstrated, but you cannot allow left-leaning demonstrators to get away with billions in property damage and focus only on that one day. I mean, the racket, the unmitigated, unparalleled hypocrisy is unbelievable. It's like, this is why President Trump won the popular vote. This is why President Trump won with every demographic group. This is why the Democratic Party is in complete and utter shambles. By the way, not that I really care about the hilarious palace intrigue within the Democratic Party, but thank God they're continuing to hire just the best people to lead them, which is hilarious. I won't even get into it. I'm not even going to get into it. Their present leadership, the paradigm within the Democratic Party has not only remained constantly miserable and inept and failed, but it's like they are on a trajectory similar to the Titanic politically.
People don't come to the office, they won't have a job.
By the way, Nicholas, thank you so very much. Nicholas, thank you. Paul, thank you. Connie, thank you so much. To my super chat, thank you.
Starting on that very special date, so we'll see how that works out. I mean, nobody knows how that's going to turn out. Everybody might show up to the office and maybe a large number won't show up. But if they don't show up, we've accomplished a very serious goal. We're trying to reduce government.
Does Mr. Musk or any of those associated with your Doge effort, do they have any direct access through the government systems to how money is dispersed?
No, nothing. No, this has nothing to do also with the federal cutting, with this federal cutting. This is very separate. This is if you don't show up, you don't get paid. But Doge, I think great progress has been made. We're talking about cutting over $1 trillion of waste. We're talking about waste. We're not talking about we're going to love and cherish Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. We're not going to do anything with that other than if we can find some abuse or waste, we'll do something, but the people won't be affected. It'll only be more effective and better. And our country, as our country gets richer, the people on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, those people are going to be more secure. If Biden had gotten elected, Social Security was going to fail because the country was failing. It was going to fail. The country was going to fail. And therefore, the Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and all of the other things that you may get would not be able to be paid. Our country is getting very strong, and you see it. I think more progress has been made in the last 2 or 3 weeks than has been made in the last 4 years. I think not only has more progress been made in the last 4 years, it's I'll call it deprogress. We went way backward as a country in so many different ways, from woke to all of the other things that took place that were so bad. You look at Afghanistan, how embarrassing that was. I think Afghanistan really started the problem with Russia and Ukraine when Putin looked over and he saw how
So this is very interesting. Democrats and the wonderful morally superior liberals and progressives and left-leaning pundits. Oh my God, Elon Musk is being given access to the payment system of the Treasury. They wouldn't care if Elon Musk was a far-left ideologue and Harris or Biden had allowed him to do the same thing. They would not even care. Then Republicans would be upset, and then they'd be like, oh, it wasn't no big deal. But let's continue with this, and then we'll get to the bureau agents that Trump is talking about.
Mr. President, why is it important for Elon Musk to have access to the payment systems at Treasury?
Well, he's got access only to letting people go that he thinks are no good if we agree with him, and it's only if we agree with him. He's a very talented guy from the standpoint of management and costs, and we put him in charge of seeing what he can do with certain groups and certain numbers. Some of the numbers are horrible, what he's found. Think of it, $100 million on condoms to Hamas.
Oh, I don't even know. Oh, I would have fast forwarded that. By the way, that's the new name of a left-leaning political action committee. I can almost assure that within the next couple of years, but or a new left-leaning organization. But anyway, he only has access to employment and to terminating the employment of people who are overpaid or projects that are completely mind-boggling, unimaginably absurd. Let's continue.
Condoms to Hamas and many other things that are frankly even more ridiculous, and they're finding tremendous waste, really waste more than anything else, I think you could say. Probably fraud and abuse can be added to it, the more standard waste, fraud, and abuse. But they're finding tremendous amounts of really bad things, bad spending. You've been writing about some of it, frankly, and some of the things that they've been doing is just terrible. Elon can't do and won't do anything without our approval, and we'll give him the approval where appropriate. Where not appropriate, we won't. But he reports in, and it's something that he feels very strongly about.
By the way, there are reports that it's not true. It simply cannot be true. And it's like, there's probably a program where the money or the intent of the program was not meant for that, but that's possibly how the money was spent because of the laundering or because of how the money was allocated. But anyway, let's continue. I'm looking up. But now it's like just anything that the Democratic Party, President Trump can pretty much, like, anything that's said about Democrats, the average American will pretty much say that's possible. It could be partially true. They're that corrupt, inept, miserably failed in terms of governing and politics. I mean, you see. With USAID, I mean, there was a quote-unquote slush fund where money was laundered in various countries. It was utilized to pressure governments to adopt U.S. foreign policy, but also like liberal ideology here and there throughout the world. Anyway, let's continue.
And I'm impressed because he's running obviously a big company. It has nothing to do if there's a conflict that we won't let him get near it, but he does have a good natural instinct. He's got a team of very talented people. We're trying to shrink government, and he can probably shrink it as well as anybody else, if not better. Where we think there's a conflict or there's a problem, we won't let him go near it. But he has some very good ideas, and we have a lot of very other talented people also. We're bringing in the most talented people in the world. By the way, we just unrelated, but we have two of the most talented people in the world, the legendary Rupert Murdoch and Larry Ellison. So they are two legends in business, publishing, and probably every other. Rupert is Larry pretty much in a class by himself, right? I mean.
So I'm reading USA Today. Donald Trump says he stopped $50 million in you know what. Fact check. There is no evidence that is true. You're not going to find any evidence. And then down in the article, for years the U.S. government has provided millions of dollars worth of contraceptives to foreign countries as a way to prevent the spread of and to make sure that family planning is available in developing nations. Okay, now we're kind of getting into what Trump said. The U.S. Agency for International Development, the government agency responsible for the administrating civil, foreign, and developmental assistance, said in a report in April that it had spent $61 million to provide what President Trump was saying and other contraceptives to other countries. Why are we giving other countries $61 million for, let's just say, small raincoats? Why? Fact check. While it's true that we spent $61 million giving other countries what Trump just talked about, that could have made its way to terrible organizations, there's no evidence at all that Trump is right. Fact check. Trump wrong. Fact check. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Good liberal. Morally superior liberal wins again. Fact check. Between 2016 and 2022, the agency spent $118 million. This is like hidden within the USA Today article. Everything is like, nothing he said was right. Between 2016 and 2022, the agency spent $118 million. This is normal. To buy little raincoats for 60 countries, an average of about $17 million per year. But none of them went to the country that had that group. Of course, those products could never have gotten in the hands of you-know-who. Asked to back up his claim, the White House referred to a State Department statement that said the administration had stopped two $50 million buckets of aid heading to that location through the International Medical Corps, a nonprofit humanitarian assistance organization based in... Okay, the $100 million for these programs included contraceptives, the statement said. Little raincoats have traditionally always been used for family planning. It's family planning! Oh, by USAID! Oh my God. Oh my God. No U.S. government funding was used to procure or distribute the little raincoats. Again, Trump. Trump. Ah! Wait, what's this? The $100 million for these programs included, but they didn't make its way to that organization. Again. Trump and his lies. Why? Why have you voted this despot in? This despot! Too totalitarian to prevent $100 million for family planning around the world. Even so, humanitarian groups said the administration claimed that $50 million was about to... It's absurd! I mean, they cost 4 cents to make. Come on. It's just not happening. Okay. Fact check. Trump and MAGA lied again. The liars, they're liars. Don't vote for them, they're lying. Between 2016 and 2022, the agency spent $118 million to buy condominiums for 60 countries. Why are we buying $118 million worth of condominiums for 60 countries? Why don't they spend that money for their own family planning? I mean, are you serious? We spent $118 million. This is the USA Today. Donald Trump said he stopped $50 million for condominiums going to you-know-where. Is it true? Is it true? Oh. Trump! Please. Good people of the United States. Stop voting for this man! my God. Fact check. 1,000% wrong. 50 billion Pinocchios. Ah.
Although you may have a couple of bucks more, I don't know, but Rupert is in a class by himself. He's an amazing guy, and Larry is Larry. Larry's one of the most serious players anywhere in the world. So it's an honor to have you. This has nothing to do with you people, but they're here, and I thought it would be appropriate.
Can you believe what Trump said about $50 million for condominiums? I mean, I read this USA Today article, and everyone they spoke to said that Trump was 1,000% wrong. There's 50, 60 Pinocchios that the Washington Post gave. What's this? Between 2016 and 2022, the agency spent $118 million on condominiums for 60 countries? Are you serious? An average about 17 million per year. But none of these went to the place that he said. Of course, there could never have been a shipment of such material to the organizations that we don't want and being sent. I mean, Biden only left billions in armament, when he left and didn't abide by the Doha Agreement, Not a cent was used for condominiums in that location. Yeah. Gosh, the U.S. Agency for International Development, the government agency responsible for administrating civilian, foreign aid, and developmental assistance, sent a report last April. It had spent $61 million in 2023 to provide condominiums. Fact check, 1,000% wrong! Trump again was like, I'm being facetious, and Trump was actually, if he wasn't, that's not only very possible or likely, the reality is between 2016 and 2022, the United States government agency that, thank God Almighty, Doge and Musk and Trump is curtailing, spent $118 million to buy condominiums for 60 countries. Okay? Do you think this is normal? Morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats, why can't they buy their own condominiums? You have to. Everyone else has to. Why do we spend that for other countries? It makes no sense. I mean, have you ever heard of something more absurd?
All right, breaking right now, sources are telling the Associated Press that the Trump administration is preparing to fire FBI agents involved in past probes of the president. It comes one day after President Trump's pick to lead the FBI, Kash Patel, insisted that he will not seek retribution or politicize the agency if confirmed. Correspondent David Spahn is following this story here in Washington. David, what is the latest?
Well, Jackie, we reported yesterday that people at the top levels of the FBI have been given an ultimatum, either leave or be fired. The FBI is undergoing a transformation. Some see it as good, what President Trump promised. Others are worried, concerned. Many of these people, Jackie, who are told to leave are career officials who have pensions. Some were hoping to stay until retirement. They've been there for years. Now, the FBI declines to give.
At last, thank you. AJ, you make me laugh with your unique sense of humor. Thankful you bring truth and honesty to the proverbial table. Keep bringing it, my friend. Thank you. At last, satisfied. Thank you so very much. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, everybody. And it's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. I can't believe it. At last, satisfied. I can't believe it. It's it's just unbelievable. Thank you. At last. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
About specific numbers or names or comment. Yesterday, the president's FBI director nominee, Mr. Kash Patel, you see him right there, had that confirmation hearing. He left without any major controversies, but he did hear strong words from both sides of the aisle while he was asked about his past comments. Watch.
Don't go over there and burn down that agency. You go over there and lift it up.
I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening the next day as a museum of the deep state.
Could he just answer the question if he said that the FBI headquarters where they investigate cybercrime and terrorism should be shut down and opened as a deep state,
Hey, Mr. Chair.
as a museum?
So the Democrats really don't have anything. He was not speaking literally. He wasn't going to turn it into a museum. Can you imagine Bernie Sanders? He's going to, in addition to the onesies and the sippy cups with a silhouette of Trump's face, he's going to turn the Hoover building into a museum and charge exorbitant fees to the working class so they can walk around and see exhibits of how they tried to imprison Trump.
Did he say that the headquarters should be shut down?
Mr. Chair.
I deserve an answer to that question.
Patel said the criticisms were, quote, false in accusations and mischaracterizations.
Priority of the FBI, if I'm confirmed, will be to ensure that our communities are protected and safeguarded and our children have parks to play in and not needles to walk over.
He said the Bureau will not be politicized either toward Republicans or Democrats. No date yet set for a full Senate confirmation vote, but he's expected, Jackie, to make it through. But a lot of changes coming at the FBI.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, David Spunt, thank you. Appreciate it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we will go ahead and we'll continue tomorrow, but you learn something new every day. Can you imagine if Biden had the second term? I mean, Lord knows they'd probably step up the budget for condominiums throughout. Hey, man, people need the condominiums, man. Come on now, man. You were young ones too, man. Come on, man. Hey, man. That's how he would defend it. Anyway, I don't even know what I just read. I can't even wrap my brain around this. Like, Elon Musk! And then you hear, like, I watch left-leaning channels, so you don't have to. It's a morbid, twisted, thing I do for research. Like, Elon Musk has access to the Treasury Department, man. So it's totally illegal. He's a billionaire. And it's like, you allowed billionaires to silence conservative voices forever. You didn't care at all. And we know from President Trump, it's only to look at employment and to look at where money is going allocated to ensure that terrible groups don't have access to millions in condominiums. Anyway, hit subscribe, everybody. God bless you all. Thank you so much for your super chat. I'll see you tomorrow, everybody.